Pete, I'm looking at this kind of remarkable stat that families and others who provide care for veterans on average spend $11,500 of their personal income to care for the veteran, which is thousands higher than what another family caregiver would spend, which is $7,242. And that's coming from AARP data that's been taken, and it appears that there were enough veterans there to really get a good sample of what veterans are spending. Can you walk me through what you're seeing in the numbers?
Absolutely. So, for a long time, we have heard that veteran caregivers, compared to their civilian caregiver counterparts, are spending more out of pocket, given different conditions and unique circumstances that veterans themselves coming home are experiencing. And so we put it to the test that AARP has what we call more general consumer civilian data that came out in 2021 that found that for family caregivers, what they were spending on civilian counterpart care recipients, it was around $7,200 per year. But when we drilled down into the veteran population, we came up with this information most recently going into this November's Veterans and Military Families Appreciation Month, and found that what's the veteran caregiver is pulling out of his or her pocket to care for their loved one, it's actually 1.5 times the amount of those civilian caregivers. It jumps from $7,200 up to $11,500. That's quite a dramatic increase. And again, it comes back to the unique circumstances that those veteran and military caregivers are facing on a regular basis.
And that is indeed a big increase. What are you seeing military and veterans caregivers spending their money on that brings that cost so much higher?
A great question. In fact, as part of the webcast that we did with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation this week, we even asked that question. And we have a sample size there where it's not scientific, but we did get immediate feedback on what veteran military caregivers are spending their money on. And it breaks down into three categories. One are the basic necessities: rent, mortgage, groceries, utilities. That by and large was the number one expense where they needed to pull money out of their pockets so that they could continue to provide care for their loved one. The next on the list was for a home health aide or a personal care attendant. That is, quite frankly, just so that the caregiver could get a little bit of respite relief, because if the caregiver, him or herself, can't take care of themselves, they certainly can't take care of their loved one. And then last and certainly not least on the list was transportation expenses. We all know about the high cost of gas prices and other means to try to get from point A to point B. And what veteran military caregivers told us most recently is that it's to be able to fill the tank up, to get to and from medical appointments, to run errands for their care recipient, and last but not least, to be able to get their care recipient to and from different locations for just regular day-to-day type errands. So when you put that all into the one basket, that's where you end up seeing that veteran and military caregivers are pulling much more money out of their pocket, 1.5 times the amount of money out of their pocket compared to those who are caring for more of their civilian care recipient.
And the veterans receiving care, can you tell us a little bit about what kind of circumstances you see from which generation, which kind of conditions are making it so that they need care?
So we typically divide that between pre 9/11. So those would be your folks from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and all of the conflicts up until post 9/11. And it's for those folks that are coming home that they have wounds that are either seen or unseen. And those become even more unique challenges, whether it be in the mental and emotional wellness space or other conditions such as amputees that in that post 9/11 crowd that do have some of these unique situations, unique circumstances that take more time, energy, as well as resource to care for.
And as we know, the Elizabeth Dole Foundation is very involved in caregiving. They're really an authority figure when it comes to it, and AARP is as well. What are some of the solutions that are being floated around right now for people to alleviate those costs with the military veteran caregiving families?
So we're always looking for strong collaborations like the one we have with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, particularly in this caregiving space. And what folks learn real quickly when they get involved with a caregiving journey is that they are immediately overwhelmed and don't even know where to start. And so AARP and the Elizabeth Dole Foundation have come together to put together a number of free resources in the form of caregiving guides and other publications that are free for download, aarp.org/veterans, and it can point people in the right direction. In some cases, just where's the first place to start? Because this is a long road. This is indeed a journey for both the care recipient as well as the caregiver. And we want to be able to step up and provide these free resources so that folks are getting immediate help and immediate guidance where they need it. One other thing is that that was one of the questions that folks would always come up to folks, whether it be the Elizabeth Dole Foundation people in the field or our AARP staff and volunteers. And for many, when it comes to that, only 1 in 3 statistic are enrolled in the VA and receiving VA health benefits, is they're immediately overwhelmed and they don't know where to start. So AARP stepped into that breach and tried to fill the gap with what we call our Veterans Health Navigator. It's not to replace the VA. It's not to replace those outstanding veteran service officers that are working veteran by veteran, family by family to initiate claims and get folks into the system. Rather, it's just an easy how-to guide that will help to answer some very basic questions on when, where, and how to start that process, as well as it provides some very basic information on what resources to bring to those initial meetings, like your DD 214 form, things like that, to have that conversation with a certified veteran service officer who can then start the claims process, get you rated, and get you into the VA system.
All right, and in earlier this year, President Biden issued an executive order to kind of help alleviate caregivers in general, and I believe named in there specifically were military families. Have you seen the lifestyle of caregivers in general change this year as opposed to last year with that executive order?
So veteran caregivers certainly have received a boost in the last couple of years between the PACT Act, between executive orders, things of that sort. And it further inspires them to continue down this path, which is indeed a labor of love. And another one of the programs that has been boosted through the current Veterans Affairs operation is the VA Caregiver Support Program. And by giving more attention to both veterans and, as importantly, to their family members or their caregivers, that there is this growing caregiver support program. It's a place that folks can go to get more education, to get financial aid, get mental health services, and in some cases even respite care. Because as I've said before, if a caregiver can't take care of themselves, they cannot take care of their loved one. So it's really a combination of things coming together to provide those necessary resources and information to further arm the veteran and military caregiver to be able to do their job more efficiently and effectively on a day-to-day basis.
Pete, AARP and the Elizabeth Dole Foundation have been doing a lot together lately. What have you been seeing, and where can people go to get more information if they want to learn about ways to improve their situation?
So number one, I'd advise folks to go click of the mouse, aarp.org/veterans, aarp.org/veterans. Right there, you can get all of our free resources that people can sign in and be able to get our caregiving guides and other useful information. Most recently with the Dole Foundation, we hosted a webcast where we brought on a handful of caregivers that told their story. It was really compelling, and how you can get into some financial challenges, financial straits, and they provided tips and advice and guidance and just great counsel so that we can help everybody know that they're not walking on this journey alone and that there is help out there. For that, you can watch at your own leisure a version of the webcast at aarp.org/veterans.
Pete, we've been hearing a lot about caregivers and from caregivers, and there's a lot new information there, so that's going to be a valuable resource for people. Pete Jeffries, thank you.
Thank you.